How is the historical background of the MCC group?
MCC has largely focused on freight forwarding as a core business. The biggest challenge that we see earlier was visibility and transparency. Whenever you needed information, you never had that. What we did is we created a solution where we gave transparency to the customers. We gave them a live tracking of their shipments.
What kind of a potential and opportunity you see for a freight forward? What kind of service they provide?
When you talk about cross-border, there's customs laws, rules, regulations, shipping, insurance, all of global policies which come in.
Give us a little background. The current multiple wars are going on. How global supply chain is getting disrupted?
The Middle East is one of our largest trading partners. It's very unfortunate and unprecedented what is happening today in the Middle East. The harsh reality of that is trade to the Middle East has come to a screeching halt. This is certainly going to affect India.
So what are your recommendations to people who want to come into a freight forwarding business?
The biggest challenge that we see in our industry .
Hello everyone. This is once again Amit Shankhdhar, founder of Logistics Shakti. आपके सामने फिर हम हाजिर है एक नए डिस्कशन को लेके। जैसा आप जानते हैं, लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति एंटरप्राइज रन्स देयर लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति पॉडकास्ट चैनल एंड यहाँ पर हम उन मेहमान लोग को लेके आते हैं जो लॉजिस्टिक्स इंडस्ट्री या उससे कनेक्टेड सप्लाई चेन फंक्शन या उससे कनेक्टेड सपोर्ट फंक्शन से जुड़े हुए बिजनेस ओनर्स हैं, प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, लीडर्स हैं, जिनकी हम स्ट्रगल से और उनकी जर्नी से हम कुछ सीख सकते हैं, आप कुछ सीख सकते हैं और लॉजिस्टिक्स इंडस्ट्री हिंदुस्तान में किस तरीके से हम ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकते हैं, नेक्स्ट स्टेज पे लेके जा सकते हैं। ये हमारा मिशन है और विजन है लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति एंटरप्राइज का। तो इसी सीरीज में आज हमारे बीच में जो मेहमान हैं वो बॉम्बे से हैं, 4th जनरेशन बिजनेस लीडर हैं अपनी कंपनी के। उनका बिजनेस का इंटरेस्ट बिजनेस के साथ साथ बहुत सारा बिजनेस को डेवलप करने के साथ साथ लोगों को डेवलप करने में है और उस तरीके से उनका जो इंटरेस्ट है वो टीचिंग प्रोफेशन में है और वो प्रोफेशन भी हमारी लॉजिस्टिक्स इंडस्ट्री से ही कनेक्टेड है। तो हमारे बीच में आज हैं डायरेक्टर ऑफ एमसीसी कंटेनर्स लाइंस प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, एमसीसी ग्रुप के डायरेक्टर हैं जो फ्रेट फॉरवर्डिंग का बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस करते हैं और जैसे मैंने बताया इंस्टीट्यूट भी रन करते हैं, टीचिंग प्रोफेशन में भी हैं और बहुत सारी फ्रेट फॉरवर्डिंग से जुड़ी हुई उनके पास सर्टिफिकेशन है और सर्टिफाइड करते भी हैं। तो विदाउट वेस्टिंग फर्दर टाइम बिटवीन मी एंड यू, आई एम ब्रिंगिंग हिम मिस्टर तेज कॉन्ट्रैक्टर। हिज नेम इज तेज कॉन्ट्रैक्टर। तो उनके सरनेम के साथ भी कुछ एक मिस्ट्री छुपी है, उसके बारे में भी बात करेंगे। सो थैंक यू मिस्टर तेज, all the way giving the time for Logistics Shakti podcast channel. तो थोड़ा सा आप अपने बारे में बताइए और कैसे आपने इस बिजनेस में आप पहुंचे, क्या बैकग्राउंड है आपका, पर्सनल बैकग्राउंड।
Thank you very much, Amit ji, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be a part of Logistics Shakti. Just to give you context, we are a 4th generation business. Personally, I was a professional tennis player. And I was living in the States playing tennis. Eventually, I came back. I picked up basketball, and I played.
So you were a sports person.
I was a sports person. Yes.
Oh, great.
So I played basketball professionally as well. And typically, what's the dream that all of us kids go through? Earlier, the dream was study, go abroad, and eventually lead a better life. So I did also see a counselor, and at that point in time, I went to a school called SPGen because there was a program called Family Business Management.
Yeah, it's still there. A lot of IIMs also run the family business.
Correct.
And SPGen is certainly a very leading
SPGen was the
school.
first one to start it. So I still remember I went in 2001, and in 5 minutes during my interview, I knew that India is the place I want to be, and this is and logistics in the industry that I would want to be in. typically logistics is not always a industry of first preference.
Yes.
Or it has not been, I would say.
Correct.
It has got a lot more fame, or I would say it has got a lot more importance after after COVID-19. Effectively, the inefficiencies, the challenges have been highlighted, and now we are seeing an increase, like a lot of people getting in. So personally, I did not want to enter the logistics business pre 2001, but 5 minutes in my MBA or during my MBA interview, and I knew this was the place I wanted to be in.
So it was your family business. It is your family business. You went for a SPGen for a family business management program, and then you were there in the States, and you were playing the bus.
No, I went there a lot earlier. So at the age of 12, between 12 and 14, I was living in the States.
Okay.
I came back and then I switched to basketball. I graduated here. After graduating, I wanted to go back abroad to do my MBA. And that's when I came across this program.
Got it. So coming back to the point, this was your background. And how is the historical background of the MCC group?
So, like I said, we are a fourth generation business. It was started by my great grandfather, Gokul Das. The company name was Gokul Das and Sons.
Right.
Typically, as we know in a family business, first builds, second expands, and third destroys. That's the common.
Say again.
First builds, second expands, and third destroys.
So in 3 generations, first generation is building, second generation is expanding, and third generation
is usually they are not so typically if you look at family businesses, very few family businesses have gone beyond 4 generations. Right. So if you see the history even of India, like I know, as I have seen in my family as well. So first built, second expanded, and the third did not destroy, but effectively we diversified. So the family split, and then my father started continuing the legacy under the name of Mayur Contractor Logistics Private Limited. At that point in time, we used to only do custom clearance. And subsequently, we then started MCC container lines, and we even went on to make software. So I used to be a coder as well. So I used to code, and so IT is
very, very diverse talent you have.
Well, it's certainly technology has been a passion for me, and I think it's one of the two things, because when I got into logistics, business, typically logistics is more or less a standard process which goes in. It was largely manual. Since I had a passion for technology, I worked on effectively making it digital as well.
Great. So what is the current size of the organization? Which are the vertical you serve currently? And what is the size of a business, of a freight business or shipping business?
So we are about 40 people across the various divisions. We are based in Bombay, Bangalore, and Chennai. Our primary business, which we started, was custom clearance. Then we went to freight forwarding, which we do under MCC container lines. And then under C-Track, we basically build software which optimizes both the processes. We are a small business, and we believe in being boutique. And ideally, if you look at the logistics industry, it's extremely vast, and there's a lot of skill required. So it is when you talk about cross-border, there's customs laws, rules, regulations, shipping, insurance, all of global policies which come in. So we decided that we are going to be a mid-sized company, that we're going to serve our clients in a very personal manner and not just a general manner.
Got it. So keeping the size as a limited for a customer focus.
Yes. So we typically are a medium-sized company or medium to a slightly larger size company in our industry. And our goal is also to serve companies where we can create value. Our mission is value creation.
Value creation. And technology, a vertical, what exactly you do?
The biggest challenge that we see today, or actually what we saw earlier, was visibility and transparency. whenever you needed information, you never had that. What we did is we created a solution where we gave transparency to the customers. When I entered the business in 2000, well, fully in 2003, data was managed on an Excel sheet. In 2026, still a lot of companies manage it on an Excel sheet. In 2017, we delivered a product where a customer does not need to call us for a status update, neither do they need an Excel sheet. We gave them a live tracking of their shipments. So one of the core focus we optimized on is efficiency within the organization, and second is to create transparency with our customers.
So give us a little more scenario and from a layman understanding how the shipping line companies are and how the freight forward or custom clearance people are. If this is just from a layman's understanding for our viewers and listeners' point of view, just give us a, what are those companies and what kind of service they provide and who are their customers?
So you've raised a very important point. The challenge, when we say shipping is a huge business. Yeah. It has a lot of verticals. But to give you a very simple insight of the value chain, you have an exporter, you have a transporter, you have a customs broker, you have a freight forwarder, you have a shipping line or something called NVOCC, non-vessel operating common carrier. So that's typically the value chain.
Value chain completely.
The industry. You might find now, so earlier there was a clear segregation. When I entered the business, a custom broker could not be a freight forwarder. Mm-hmm. A freight forwarder could not be an NVOCC. Today, you see the value chain becoming smaller. You see,
and there is a lot of overlapping and crossing of these different verticals are happening.
Well, I think it's progression.
Yeah.
See, every organization has to grow, and the only way you can grow is horizontally or vertically, or forward or backward integration. So as we saw, we all want things in a simpler manner. So rather than deal with 5 entities, it's better to deal with one entity, and it works much smoother that way. Mm-hmm. So what we saw is effectively segregation. What we saw is basically consolidation. A transporter started doing custom clearance, eventually went to freight forwarding. A freight forwarder backward integrated to do custom clearance and then do warehousing and perhaps transportation as well. So we are seeing, a lot of forward and backward integration with the space.
So if you take a typical example, let's say a Merck's, there is a shipping line, right? And MCC is the freight forwarding.
Correct.
And what else could be the another example in this value chain? So and what MCC will do and what Merck's will do and who's customers?
Very interesting question. So Maersk is an integrated, earlier was a shipping line. Now they are an integrated logistics service provider. They decided that they will effectively do all the services in the chain, either in-house or they will outsource some of the functions. MCC has largely focused on freight forwarding as a core business, and in certain small portion of non-vessel operating, being an NVO. We started off as a customs broker. So these are the 3 main core businesses that we have. We are a customer to Maersk in a way, and in one of the verticals, we potentially can be a vendor to Maersk as well. Correct. So, for example, if I want to offer my custom clearance services and Maersk is willing to tender it to me, then we can be a vendor. Now, if I want to load cargo on Maersk line, then I effectively am a customer to Maersk.
Got it. So from a new business, a lot of logistics is certainly a very, very vast subject and the huge potential for a business and huge potential for our professionals to grow in their life. So looking from that business perspective, what kind of a potential and opportunity you see in India for a business like shipping? Of course, is a very, very heavy investment kind of a business. India itself is lacking on it. We will talk on that. But certainly you're doing a freight forwarding business, custom clearance business, and building the business around service provider as a value addition, right? What are the opportunities you see and the potentials you see in the country?
So you mentioned two very important aspects. So you have one business which is an asset light model, and you have another business which is an asset heavy
Asset
model.
heavy business, correct.
So typically the whole supply chain or verticals within the supply chain are within this space. As MCC, we have been largely asset light. Why? Because we can be modular. To give you an example, if someone wants to do warehousing in Gujarat, or if someone wants to do warehousing in Kolkata, it's very easy for us to identify a vendor and work there. However, if we were asset heavy and we created our own warehouse, the cost of real estate, the cost of land, the cost of servicing a warehouse at each location, it can be difficult and it can be challenging as well, especially for small companies or medium-sized companies like ours. So we chose to have an asset light model. Typically, that's been our direction all through. I told you that in 5 minutes during my MBA, I knew this was the business that I wanted to be in. It's only after we see the last 10 years, I would say India's growth just went on, I think, a massive expansion. If you look at the Vision 2047,
Viksit Bharat.
Viksit Bharat, that we have, tell me which industry does the government tell you that you will grow by more than 12% each year? If you look at numbers, in the year 21, we were roughly about $400 billion. By 2030, they said $1 trillion of growth.
That's the GDP you're talking about?
For exports.
Export only. Okay.
By 2047, we're talking about 5 trillion. Now, if you just do a simple math, you are at 400 billion and you want to be at 5 trillion in 25 years. And put that on a graph, that's roughly around 12% growth. I think that itself is exciting.
And the cost of logistics is a logistics industry's potential.
So that's the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you see Make in India, if you see the national logistics policy, if you see all of these, if you look at our foreign trade policy, earlier we always had a 5-year vision. For the first time, we have seen the government turn around and say that although we have a vision, we will come and approach it if we want to. So there is no need to modify that vision every 5 years. So it's a long-term vision that we have taken. Alongside that, there's a lot of developments which have taken place internationally. So if you look at the World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement, that is a single agreement which changed the dynamics of global trade. Every country effectively signed on to effectively simplify trade. And that has given us a massive, massive potential. We have the National Committee of Trade Facilitation, which is the highest, which is chaired by the highest bureaucrat in India, Revenue Secretary. In this, so what we see, ease of doing business, the time release study, all of the rankings that we are improving, all of the infrastructure, the roads that we see, including hard and soft infrastructure, effectively stem from here. We are in very exciting times. In fact, I wish I was 20 years younger at this moment. But nevertheless, I am very happy to be where I am today and be a part of India's growth story. I think in the next 20 odd years, we're going to see fantastic things happen.
Very nice. So very exciting for the people who are looking for a logistics and an option for a business opportunity, or maybe the logistics and an option for the professional career growth. And now coming back to the point, the kind of a challenges you or your kind of organization, or typically in these verticals, are being faced in our country or the globally.
I think every organization faces the common challenges, especially being in the MSME space. Mm-hmm. The two biggest challenges are finance and people and manpower. every organization is going to struggle with that space. And I think, I take it back to my, B school. And we used to always go back to our professors and say, we are having challenges finding the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And what our professors came back and said, you will never go 100% right. You will, even if you hit a 30% strike rate, you're good. I think what challenges we faced, okay, is our industry is a largely manual business. It is heavily dependent on people. What is really required is optimal processes. Second is, if you look at what we do, custom clearance and freight forwarding, let's say manufacturing, you're manufacturing a mic or so, most of the processes are within a factory, within an organization. If you're producing this video, you're producing in a closed environment. There are no external factors. In logistics, preparing a document is what's in your control, or communicating the flow to your customer is within your control. Everything else you are dependent.
Rest is entire physical.
It is completely dependent on external resources. You're dependent on a transporter, you're dependent on a truck, you're dependent on a road, you're dependent on a shipping line, you're dependent on an airline. So if any piece, doesn't fit in,
or,
effectively that is a service failure. So the biggest challenge is servicing the client that one faces, but it is also the biggest opportunity. We look at challenges. I spoke a little bit about my technology journey and what we worked on. We took a challenge and converted that into an opportunity. So to put it in simple words, if I needed information, or if anyone needed information 10 years ago, it was a phone call and typically you call the operations person and ask them what is the status, effectively get the communication and pass it on. We created a solution which was very simple. I took the courier model. If you look at DHL, or if you look at any e-commerce model, the moment it's delivered, you get an update. If you think what they did is fantastic, they made the delivery guy the customer service agent. And that's a very unique model. So what we did is we took that same model and we applied it to our business. It was a very tough thing to do, because largely implementing technology in any company is always a challenge. Making technology is not difficult.
Making technology not a problem. Changing the habit of the people, changing the mindset of the people, and adopting the entire tech process.
Yes.
Basically, real challenge.
I'll give you a simple example, right? Now, here is and this happens perhaps all across industry.
Yeah.
In 2014, so you have a voucher, right? So if you have a person who has done a transport delivery or done a loading, they have to claim an expense. The traditional way is you write it on a piece of paper, you send it to the office, and usually that's given at the receptionist. It goes for an approval, a second approval, then it goes for payment. Can you imagine the inefficiency in that simple model?
Yeah.
So the individual who has to claim that amount would perhaps not be doing their job, but trying to find where in the chain is that voucher. We created a visible system in 2014. When we made it optional, so first 6 months we had a journey. No one used it. The day we made it compulsory, so we had a deadline. So 1st September we said, we are not going to process a manual voucher. If we look at today, I don't think our people could ever do things manually again.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, great. So how do you look at now the next? Would like to understand how the global trend, or respective continent or the respective sectors, the trade is moving. It is US, Europe, African countries, or Middle East. Where is how the trade is moving? Where the growth is happening?
Superb question. As we agreed earlier, logistics was not an industry of first preference,
Yeah.
right? It has now become a industry of great importance. We find in boardrooms, you actually have a director supply chain, or logistics finds a very important role in every boardroom organization or company. Most uh, most countries, if you see, I would say most mature countries where you see logistics has always been a critical function. We as supply chain professionals actually build strategy as well. To give you an example, in 2000, in the year 2000, India signed its first free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. What that did, it did something unprecedented. You could import goods from a country without payment of duty. Largely, if you see, in year 2000, the government set a policy in place. That is a strategic vision where India should grow. Free trade agreements is nothing but a super highway for trade. How we have a road, if you look at any city, metro, which has grown, you have Noida on one side, Gurgaon on one side, you have an awesome infrastructure which was created down the center. And this is not a model which is isolated. In the 20s, the US got out of a recession effectively by building roads because it supports a number of industries. The same way, India signed a free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. That was our first agreement in the year 2000. That said, every product coming from Sri Lanka to India, 1st January 2004 became duty free.
2004 onwards became a duty free.
Yes, there were certain conditions to it. And vice versa, goods going from India to Sri Lanka in 2007 became duty free. Like that, we started signing agreements. We have seen recently, it's not set, but we have seen recently an India EU agreement that's
Yeah, European
signed in
Union.
place. Something with the UK. A few years ago, we saw India sign a free trade agreement in Dubai with Dubai. Like
And the talk is going on with GCC.
Correct. So, like this, we have 15 trade agreements today. Along with the trade agreements, we have mutual recognition agreements where two countries require or would like to trade. So, it's not a full fledged trade agreement, but they are mutual recognition agreements in place. So, ideally, we are, that is the vision. Who knows what's going to happen? No one can see the future. However, it is these agreements, if you focus on that, that itself is one way of looking at strategy on where business is going to grow.
So these trade agreement, the trade will move in that direction.
We have seen this happen time and time again. India signed an agreement with the UAE. We saw immense amount of trade. India signed an agreement with ASEAN countries. We saw immense amount of trade grow. In 2012, I was a part of a group where we are talking about doing trade between India and Europe. Okay. What is the quantum of growth in this lane? 3%, 4%, 5%, and we are very happy. I ask you a question. Do you think anyone here is happy growing at 2 and 3 and 4%?
No, nothing. I mean, less than 2 digit is not considered to be a growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At that same time, do you know what intra-Asia trade grew at?
No idea.
Over 30% year on year. Now, here is the conundrum. Okay, freight to Europe, $1,000, $1,000 to $1,500. Goods to reach there, 30 days, give or take. You get your payment after 30 days. And let's say you have a cash flow that you run with. Every business runs with a limited cash flow.
Yeah.
Trade increasing at a few percent, 4 5% at max. Take the same thing with Asia, intra-Asia trade. From India going to places in Asia, $5, $10. I mean, the highest you see is like $500 to odd destinations for a 20 foot. And let's say $1,000 is like the, peak. Your goods reach
This is one
in-
container's rates you're talking about?
yeah, goods reach in less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks to most destinations, and your realization is much faster. So the amount of money, let's say if you have $10,000, you could do 10 containers into Europe with that same $10,000, assuming it's $100. Just do the math how much business you can do
Hmm.
in Asia. So this is where the opportunities lie. In 2009, India had a look east policy. One thing you'd be surprised to know, and this is very interesting, a lot of products you find a better realization looking east rather than looking west,
Got it.
purely because of competition.
And turnaround time is less. Let's give us a little background. The current disruption, as we're recording this video, the tariff was last 6 months or maybe a year kind of a scenario, and the multiple wars are going on. How global supply chain is getting disrupted, and how the rising cost is throwing a different challenge for the freight forwarding and the shipping industry, and how are you people coping up?
Well, I think it's as of today, disruption has been the normal. So I don't think disruption is new anymore. We have, I think, gotten used to uh, living through disruptions. In the last 5 years, we have seen a lot of trends that have taken place. It's very unfortunate and unprecedented what is happening today in the Middle East. But the harsh reality of that is trade to the Middle East has come to a screeching halt. For the first week, it was really challenging because immediately we saw companies suspend services, and which was right because you have to protect asset, life, etc.
Yeah.
That's most important. We are seeing now alternate routes being made. Just like water finds its way in any way, so will trade. If you look at the Strait of Hormuz, is a pipeline into the Persian Gulf. You have the Suez. What Musk line did, Musk said, we don't want to take a chance. We saw in 4 or 5 days, we saw the whole of the Middle East ignite. We saw flights stopping. We saw vessels literally coming to a halt. Insurance companies have
Raise their rates.
raised their rates in a drastic way, which has caused a bigger challenge because to service that same destination has now become far more expensive. So, what was a freight of a few $100s, just the insurance surcharge or the war risk surcharge has gone between $1,500 to $2,000 for a 20-foot container and about $4,000 for a 40-foot container. That has made it unviable for trade to take place. We have seen uh, we have seen first week really there was a lot of uncertainty. We have seen recently trade move over Sohar, over Korfakan, over Fujairah, and that's how it's limping. So it's very expensive, but effectively there is a solution that's come around. I think it's still very early days. We will see a lot of realignment of supply chain in the middle. The Middle East is one of our largest trading partners. So this is certainly going to affect India. And I must share that it's unbelievable. Yesterday was Sunday. The government had a meeting on what's going on. We have seen the government has sprung into action immediately, almost immediately. You have a lot of cargo moving in. You have perishables. You have,
A lot of consumption of the whole Middle East, particularly Dubai and UAE, are largely depending upon the India itself.
that's correct. Now you have goods which have to go. So you have three parts. You have goods which are probably lying on the ports waiting to sail, goods which are in the water, and goods which had reached there but are not getting consumed or it cannot reach the ultimate place. Immediately the board met, there was a decision made, trade, there was a committee formed to find out what are the challenges, what are the issues that trade is facing. Within 3 days, there was an action plan because one of the biggest challenges, the goods which have sailed have to come back. right? You have a container of bananas.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a $3,000 surcharge on it, can you imagine what the cost of the bananas are going to be? So it's just unaffordable. The government set up an action plan saying any goods that have sailed, which are going to be returned back, we are not going to follow the traditional process. We are not going to implement fines. We are not going to have any. We are not going to have any such bureaucratic process that exists. They waived everything to the extent where yesterday there was a meeting once again with Chairman JNPA, because Nhava Sheva port is one of the largest in the country. Today, just a few hours ago, there was a meeting with the Directorate General of Shipping to take stock of what's going on and how trade is going to, how they're going to manage the equation. So we are seeing a very responsive government, and I think certainly you cannot there, certainly you cannot prevent that an exporter will get hurt with this, but you can certainly ensure that the process of goods returning back to origin could be there. Like today morning, I got a call from a customer. Uh, he has sent goods to Dubai. They reached before before the
The war started.
before the war started. His buyer has stopped communicating with him, has not paid him for his goods. Now he has two choices: to find another buyer or bring the goods back. And these are high value agro goods. Right? So this is a hard decision that individuals, organizations will make. But effectively, I will share only one thing: the whole shipping fraternity, transporters, NVOCCs, custom brokers, shipping lines, we have a communication pipeline open. We are here to service trade, including governments. If there is a problem you have, you take it to them, they come up with a solution. That's
Got it.
very unusual.
And what is the impact of tariff has come for the exporters or the freight companies?
Tariffs was certainly, I would say, a game changer. Tariffs is nothing but barriers to trade. And effectively, you have two kinds of barriers. You have non-tariff barriers, okay, and you have tariff barriers. When we saw the tariffs being imposed at 50%, it really was a big challenge. Vessels sailed light, some services realigned, a lot of trade dropped considerably, but trade found a way. There are,
Alternative ways are there,
there are, well,
or
it's
ways
not
are being
about
found out.
it's not about alternative ways. You see, there is a concept of, just in the jewelry
Yeah,
industry,
please.
right? If the product is of American origin, is being brought here to have some value addition and is sent back. Largely, it is a product which has been exported from there. There's only finishing done and it's gone back. So you see a huge, because it's originating from there, the cost of tariff is mitigated. We saw a lot of innovation taking place, a lot of people thinking. But I must tell you, unprecedented what some countries did. I won't mention which one. But if tariffs were at 50% or 30% or 25% for respective countries, those suppliers reduced prices in order to ensure that the final product does not get hit.
Mhm.
It's very rare to
And
see
who
something
they have
like
taken
this.
a hit on their bottom line?
Yes. So they have taken a hit on their bottom line. And
How will they sustain?
that is something that I don't have an answer to. But ideally speaking, we saw very innovative measures being taken by various countries and various companies. In some cases, it's a policy decision.
Respective government has supported.
Yes.
Okay, so this is all about the tariff. Now let's talk about a little more. Coming back to the initial discussion, what we provoked and then paused it, was the digitalization. So the tech also has created a disruption, and your industry as well, lot of digital platform operators are also coming up as a alternate solutions, as a aggregator service providers. How is this effective? Are they a competitor of yours or collaborators for you? How do you look at it?
So, uh, one, so tech has disrupted a lot of things. There is one thing that is yet to disrupt. What we have seen, uh, there is no one yet who has provided tech and logistics together and succeeded in a large way.
Oh, is that so?
Yes,
Tech with the complete managed solution.
correct. So, for example, if someone decided to sell freight and come up with a technology platform to sell that freight. So it started off very early on, and I've been, technology has been a passion ever since I was a kid. So when I started working with, organizations and seeing new technology being developed, I would always jump onto the bandwagon to see what they are doing. One company had started off; they had a really nice automation or a rate management system. One of the most difficult things in our industry is to manage rates. It's almost like the stock market.
Yeah,
When you see
fluctuation.
prices going up and down, now take that with the hundreds of ports that you serve. Sometimes it's impossible to manage everything in real time. But we saw some companies doing that, and they really helped providers in between. But when they started selling freight, eventually they became a competitor to the industry. So a lot of times the industry had challenges and they resisted. That's one reason. And you can hear numerous companies. We hear Cogoport being one. At one point in time, they were everywhere. They were cross subsidizing freight. Anyone can sell at discount and get business or buy business, I would say. But often, a lot of people come and say booking freight online is as simple as buying an air ticket.
Yeah.
I ask them only one question. Have you ever bought an air ticket and have you ever had to make a change to that air ticket? I'll tell you, the process is not as simple.
Correct.
Take that with the variables that we have in logistics. Often we need someone to talk to. We cannot just talk to a machine and expect everything to go as it is. You find supply chain being disrupted a lot. So a cutoff can get preponed or postponed. A truck can break down. Let's say you have 10 trucks, 9 go, one has not gone. A document submission has not happened within time. We will see that change very quickly now. The last 5 years has brought about amazing, amazing technology ideas and solutions. I just saw recently a product where someone has actually built a whole business intelligence tool connecting any system that you have. I see a lot of new tech startups come in and say we want to do something in logistics. I had a few years ago someone from US who came down. His father was running. His father was a exporter based out of Bangalore. He had just recently sold his company doing something in the fintech space in US, and he wanted to do something in logistics. So we are seeing a lot of successful ideas coming in logistics space. You go to any logistics exhibition today, you find such innovative, such innovative companies, ideas, energy. I think we are just at the start. We are going to see a whole revolution of change, paralleled with what's happening with newer technologies like AI, OCR, etc. I think the next 5 years is going to redefine business.
So, which technology you find the most useful or required for freight forwarding? Is it visibility tools or AI forecasting kind of analytics based, or the integration?
So you have asked, I think, one of the most interesting questions. The biggest challenge that we see in our industry, okay, is integration. The first biggest challenge. If you look at Amazon, right, what did the e-commerce boom give us? Today, transparency is not an option. It's expected.
It's basic. No?
It's a basic necessity today. 10 years ago, it was not so. Perhaps even 5 years ago, it was not so. You are seeing largely platforms wanting to communicate. How is that happening? It's happening in two ways. Building API endpoints to each solution is not easy. So you have third-party integrators which actually create common platforms to give. Let's look at carriers. Carriers are huge organizations, huge. They have to build systems according to local law. They cannot just ask countries to adapt to their systems. It's the other way around. Right? So you find a lot of carriers adopting to local solutions.
Got it.
We are also seeing a huge shift in platforms migrating. Indian platforms trying to sell worldwide, and vice versa.
Cross-country selling is happening.
Correct. So the Middle East is a launching pad today. So we find, I think it's going to be a very exciting space. First, integration has become a necessity. It is no longer an option. But ironically, with the risks that come along with it, we have seen all too well, large organizations have been hacked. Systems have been shut down. So no one wants to give an open API. How do you circumvent this? I recently had a company called me up and said, we launched a portal, but we don't find trade using it. They launched...
Is it really useful for the trade or not? That is the question.
It is very useful, but trade doesn't use it. You know what trade gave an answer? The customers gave an answer saying, you are asking us to fill the same information again and again and again. So this carrier, that individual who was handling IT, called me up and said, do you have any company who does RPAs? Effectively takes data from one software and has a robotic solution to mimic a manual process.
Got it.
So we are seeing such opportunities come in. And I think it's really exciting. The space is exploding.
And how's the AI impact is going?
I think we are at very early stage of AI. See, typically we are seeing, let's break it down. You have very large companies, you have medium-sized companies, and you have small companies. The large companies can invest in technology. They can create their own solutions. The medium and smaller, not so much. We are seeing a large input where people are using simple tools like an OpenAI, a Gemini, or a Copilot, which is integrated in the communication. So they're using it to communicate, create better language or better emails. Then you're seeing a huge shift where the whole industry, or I would say the custom broking industry, is wanting to implement OCR and create a custom declaration.
And what is OCR for the viewers?
So OCR basically is optical character recognition. So you could have a simple PDF file. That PDF file has, let's say, an invoice. And it takes that invoice and effectively fills and creates a custom declaration. So we are seeing a large number of technology providers focus on that today. It's very interesting because all of the data exists. Like if you look at a domestic transaction, if you look at just a bill of lading, etc., those are still simpler documents. Why? Because most of the data entered is there someplace. However, when you look at a custom declaration, it has a lot more data elements which are not present. So you could have, for example, an invoice which says that this is a mic, but you would not have the HS code mentioned on the document. You would not have the custom notification mentioned. This is coming from China, will have a different duty or anti-dumping duty. Coming from Sweden, it may not have. Coming from manufactured in Korea or Japan, it may be even duty free. So just using a simple OCR is not sufficient. You have to ensure that you have a business intelligence layer, effectively using AI in some form to mimic that function or mimic a function of a human. We are seeing technology improve, and I think it's only a matter of time. Basic repetitive tasks will get replaced.
So let's we are coming to the towards completing our discussion. The subject is so vast, it cannot be completed in a 1 hour's kind of a session.
True. I had a
But
4-hour lecture yesterday in Bombay University just on this.
oh, very good, nice. So, what are your recommendations or suggestions to people who want to come into a freight forwarding business, or maybe a shipping or overall custom clearance kind of a business?
Okay, so I will I will tell you. There is a port called. So we spoke of 2047 Viksit Bharat. We have a port called Vadhavan Port, which has recently been announced. That port at full capacity, we are talking about over 20 million containers, which is more than the current capacity of India. That's just the start. We want to build more ports like this. If you see the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, if you see the mission, I'll tell you, we have had in one dialogue with a member IT, he came to address us and he says, we want to clear a whole vessel. We want to clear cargo in 1 hour. I mean, when that is the vision, you are going to work towards achieving it. We are talking about explosive growth that we are going to face. We are going to see tremendous opportunity. Most importantly, India has a very young population, right? We are seeing Europe, we are seeing even China, other countries, the cost of labor is getting more and more expensive. Plus the dependency. We find a much larger percentage of the population being dependent on fewer people earning. With India, it's the other way around. So we will see disposable income increase purely because as a large number of people work, the disposable income increases. Why people want to sign agreements with India? The moment we see that, I already spoke earlier that we are going to see free trade agreements being pipelines to growth. We signed an agreement with Dubai in 2022. That's, I mean, that opened our access into the GCC.
So, these trade agreement itself are giving the immense opportunities for a people who are looking for a business operations or looking for their startups in the logistics industry, particularly in freight forwarding and shipping lines. This is what you are probably saying.
We will see huge opportunity there.
Okay.
So, be it shipping, transportation, even ancillary industries.
And what are your recommendations or suggestions? The people who are aspiring for a professional career growth in this segment of logistics industry, and what you teach in your institute, what kind of a skill set is needed, and what kind of a the different level of skills for the top level people or medium level. My question is a little larger. We can answer in a parts.
So, logistics is a professional industry. It is not a generic program. For customs, you need to have a particular skill set. Why? Because laws change. So one of our core focuses is a module that we have on customs. Like that, we have 16 modules, starting with customs, air freight, sea freight, road transport, then multimodal transport, warehousing and supply chain, international conventions. If you look at the back of a bill of lading, you'll see terms and conditions. If you look at a back of a lorry receipt or a rail receipt, you'll see terms and conditions. Those are what we teach. In addition to this, information technology, safety and security, which has been, uh, perhaps one of the single most important topic
thing.
that have come in. One very important aspect that has come in recently is ESG, right?
Yeah.
So social responsibility on the environment. So these are all the topics that we teach across. So we have a 300-hour program effectively that we run. This program is validated every 4 years. So Triple FAI is the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India. It is the largest non-governmental organization for logistics providers dealing in cross-border trade in India. Triple FAI is a part of, so we have a federal structure. So you have 30 member associations. So Bombay, Delhi, Indore, Bangalore, Coimbatore, Chennai, Kolkata. And India basically is a part of the global association called FIATA. This program is validated by FIATA. So if someone goes through this program with us, they get a certificate from us. They also get a certificate from FIATA. And FIATA has over 100 member nations. With that common certificate, they can effectively be employed anywhere where that certificate is recognized. We are the only validated association or institute in India to have this. We have a program with IIM. We are in talks. We have our own program that we run. We run this program with 6 other institutes in the south. So Triple FAI is a very responsible association. We ensure that interests of trade are kept and maintained. And I think with the way we are seeing the importance of India growing, I think it's very simple. I spoke earlier about free trade agreements, saying in Asia trade is growing at 30%. In Europe it was growing at a much lower value. The logistics industry is going to grow. I think almost anything you do in India will grow. But I see immense opportunity in logistics. I think one message that I would like to give any person wanting to enter the industry: one, work hard; two, study hard; three, opportunities will follow. Stay dedicated to what you want to do. Take a vision, take a mission, and just stick with it. You will eventually see that goal come true.
Fantastic. Work hard, study hard, opportunity will follow you.
Absolutely. Uh, it's happened with me. It's happened with me. I have got, so one thing I perhaps didn't tell you: Incoterms are the foundation of any trade. Right? The first start of a transaction or the foundation of international trade is Incoterms. FOB, CIF, CFR. In 2014 to 16, I got an opportunity to represent the International Federation on the ICC, where we simplified Incoterms. The purpose of that committee was because there were a lot of disputes between buyers and sellers. In order to mitigate disputes, they created a guidance document. I was fortunate to continue that engagement between 17 to 19, representing the International Federation, where we got an opportunity to express the requirements of change. So, 3 of our suggestions that we recommended as FIATA came in Incoterms 2020. So, I think the opportunity will present itself. I was I was very fortunate to get it at an early age. One thing I didn't tell you, my father, in fact, you gave me a very, very interesting introduction, and I think a very august one at that. Compared to where I am today, my father had much, he had achieved a lot more. He was one of the first few people in 90s. He became part of the International Association. He went on to become senior vice president, and unfortunately, as fate would have it, he could not continue due to health and he passed. But I had very, very big shoes to fill. And there's one thing I always believe in, and this comes back to the opportunity, is karma. I lost my dad very early. I lost him at the age of 28. It's I had just entered business, completed not even 5 6 years, but because of all the good he did, it's been 18 years now. I still see, you know, a lot of people who have actually uh, been friends of his. They are like mentors and
They are
godfathers
helping
to me.
you. The karmas of father is coming
Yes,
in a
yes,
good way
and
for you.
it's extremely relevant. Like I'll give you an example. Uh, I had one individual uh, who was from the department, and he came to me. I had no idea who he was. Okay, when I lost my dad, I see a letter signed by him, and then he told me stories about my father which I didn't even know about. I had another one who came to me and said, "Do you know when he was in Bombay, the fondness that he had developed for that. Dad passed away 18 years ago. But 18 years later, I was fortunate to meet him in a function. And he said, "Do you know when my mother was unwell, she was battling cancer and I was in a disarray. Your father came with a blank check and he said, put whatever amount it is for your mother's treatment." You know, so I'm blessed to have been born, into this family. I'm even more blessed to have been born in the industry. I think opportunity will find its way. It's just be dedicated to what you want to do it right, and don't take shortcuts.
Great. Very nice. Thank you very much. What is your vision for your organization, being a fourth generation, diversification, or further, you see a lot of opportunity yourself for others. Where do you see your vision now?
Well, so I have a lovely family. I have two daughters. We are seeing, you know, a lot of. I mean, earlier this was a fairly male-dominated profession. I see a few friends in the industry. The amount of women logisticians entering the business is immense. I see this business is going to grow. I've already expressed the importance and uh, I've already expressed the importance and growth that we are going to see in this industry in the next perhaps decade or more. I think as an organization, we will grow multifold. If you do the right things, we invested in technology and had solutions which helped us grow 32% without adding a person. So we achieved that. Currently, some of the projects, some of the AI models that we are working on. So, one is a model on a communication tool, which will, if successful, I think probably optimize our communication with our customers even better than what it is today, almost in real time.
So thank you very much, Mr. Tej, for your time and such a wonderful insight you have given for the professionals and for the upcoming business leaders. I would like to hear certain feedback on a Logistics Shakti Enterprise podcast channel and the submit and awards what we are doing. How do you see and how we can support and how we can contribute to the industry?
Well, I think you are contributing in a large way by starting with podcast, increasing, making awareness. Uh, I really appreciate the fact that coming from a background in logistics, you are supporting the industry with manpower. I think one of the biggest core challenges that we face is getting good and trained people. I think that's one area you're doing a great job. Second is in terms of uh, creating awareness, spreading the word of the importance of logistics is one area that's extremely important. Having awards, in my opinion, are nothing but a recognition to good service. We are seeing so many organizations like yours recognizing talent, giving them a boost. The moment you do that, you give people an opportunity to excel, and you give people an opportunity to look up and aspire to be the next awardee. So, I must compliment you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
I thank you for calling me for this podcast. It was really appreciative. We had a lot of challenges in scheduling the right,
No problem.
dates.
That's always happen when you're coming all the way from Bombay and
Yeah.
fixed schedule is there. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. If you're watching this episode till the end, I would suggest you must be get some, feedback on our comment section, the kind of people, kind of a guest you are further looking for. And if you really feel someone should get advantage of this particular episode, you may forward it, or you may recommend watching this particular episode or various other episodes of Logistics Shakti podcast. And certainly if you feel and appreciate us in the form of subscribing or liking, thank you very much.